So this is the first in a series of a few videos regarding binomial expansion. This is one of the last sections of this chapter, so we're going to have our test next week. And so this deals with combinations, and we're going to work with that a little bit, but to begin, we're going to discuss what binomial expansion is. And all it is basically if I have two terms and I square them, how do they become expanded? And so we'd FOIL this, and this would be the binomial expansion. Well, there's quicker ways to do this than to distribute. Image that I have here, I'll go ahead and zoom in and kind of zoom around a little bit. You can see here that I have a plus b, which is a binomial. It's two terms being added together, and all of that to the 0th power. Same thing to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And over to the right, we're going to see that we have the terms expanded. So let me shrink this down a little bit. If we look here, this one's basically a plus b times a plus b times a plus b. Well, how does it actually expand? This, if we actually distributed everything, this is what we would get. We'd get a cubed plus 3a squared be the first blah, 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 blah. That's what we would get. A couple things to notice here is that we have some powers, and I'm going to have some patterns on the next page, but look at all these powers here, 1 plus 0, and obviously we know that this is 1, but we're writing it so we can see a little bit of the pattern. As a decreases, b increases. And so there's a lot of different patterns here, and then the last thing I want to point out is if you look at all the coefficients of the variables, this is something that I've been putting on the board the past couple days to make you guys aware. We have the coefficients which create Pascal's triangle, so we're going to use this in our binomial expansion. So if you look at everything that I've circled here, we're going to see Pascal's triangle. So let's move on. And so here are the patterns. So I would go ahead and write this down, and I'll kind of point at it with a highlighter or a pointer, if you will. And so the first thing we have is each expression has n plus 1 terms. So this guy right here is n. So the power that we're raising our binomial to is n. So if we look, each expression has n plus 1 terms. So this is 0, n plus 1, there's only one term here. So if I have something to the 5th power, I'm going to have 6 terms written. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now the second bullet point says the first term is a to the n and the last term is b to the n. So notice, let's look at this one. N is 1, a to the first, b to the 0 cancels out, and b to the first. So we know that our first and last terms are going to be just the a to the 5th and the b to the 5th. And we already talked about this on the previous slide, but in successive terms, powers of a will decrease by 1, powers of b will increase by 1. So notice here for our very last row, a to the 5th, b to the 0, a to the 4th, b to the 1st. So as a decreases, b increases. And notice that the sum of these two exponents, that's our second to last bullet point, as we go through this process, all of the exponents with a and b are going to add up to equal whatever n is. And the coefficients are going to increase and decrease in a symmetric pattern, and they're going to follow Pascal's triangle. And here we go. Here's Pascal's triangle. I've written this on the board. A few times we've talked about it. But basically what happens is we can create a bunch of triangles here on this page. Let me shift this over so we're a little bit more in the center. And you'll notice here that if I take these two numbers and add them together, if I add the 1 and 2, it creates 3. It creates the number below it. So if we want to take 4 plus 6, that's going to equal 10. 10 plus 5 is going to equal 15. So I can write out this triangle. So if I wanted to perform expansion to the 7th degree, these would be my 6th row, so I could write out the 7th row. Rows always start and end with 1. Okay, so you'll notice that pattern. Then I just take these two numbers and add them together. And now it ends in 1. And now I have, after the expansion, I know it's always going to start with a to the 7th, b to the 0, and I'm going to go ahead and have my 1, and then the next term would be 7, a to the 6th, b to the 1st, and I keep on going all the way down. It gets a little tricky, but for the most part, this is exactly what we're going to be doing in following patterns. So here's our intro video. The next video is going to go through some practice problems.